Why have you got aircraft carriers with no aircraft on it? You're mad. What are you doing? Yeah? The whole question of is the resources there? The question is who has the power to decide how that takes place? And that's why Greece is important. Because you know what's tremendous about Greece? It's the fact that people said no. The fact that they mobilised and said no. That they went on strike and said no. But it also says something about democracy. Because they're always telling us, aren't they? Tolerance, democracy, listening to whatever it is. And when people say no, they go, we're not listening to that. Who are you listening to? 3 bankers. These are the ones that must decide. They strip away the truth comes to it, and it comes like that. And you see, partly, that's the reason why I'm enjoying Jeremy speaking around. Because he's saying things, he says things that people don't want to hear. And he says it on the media. And you support him 100%. But I also look at Greece, and I'm worried, to be honest, because I saw the vote in Greece. Tsipras won the vote. And then he had to implement the cuts. And so that question of power has to be raised again. You see, we have to be part of those people that mobilise out on the street, but we also have to raise the question of power. I tell you something about the People's Assembly demonstration. We should call it the TUC People's Assembly demonstration, the People's Assembly TUC demonstration. And I'll tell you why. Because when the question of power comes into it, it's not true that we haven't got the power. The truth is, it hasn't been mobilised. People mentioned there was a general strike, 1 day general strike against the pensions. Why was it only 1 day? Why wasn't it more? Because the TUC's got that demonstration. It's also true that People's Assembly, we're responsible for it, but I tell you, every trade union leader in this country is responsible for leading that struggle as well, of bringing out every voice they've got. We have to make sure that they come out and responsible. I support them, but we have to put pressure on them to make sure that people come out as well. Because the question, there is no alternative, and we have to accept it. We have to say that isn't the case. We're not beaten, and we have to hold them responsible as well. Because when that fight came, it's not true that we were beaten. What they said was, wait until the election takes place. You don't have to carry on, because that will happen. And actually, Labour was ahead in the polls, because there was a question of resistance. What happened when they switched it off? It went down. And then it went down. I don't blame the people alone that didn't vote. Why? There's nothing to vote for. If someone says, we're going to carry on a little bit, but we're going to smile when we kill you, yeah? Why would you do that? Why would you support it? The question is, there's a question got to be raised about that, and that's what you see that's taken place inside Scotland when people turn around and resist. There's deep anger, but partly the truth is that anger isn't even. In Greece, actually, it's 2% of the world economy, and it gets whacked by a hurricane, and Greece shows us our future. Britain has got a £1 trillion economy, so it gets whacked by a hurricane, and it looks like it can survive. But then the hurricane keeps coming, and it keeps hitting people. And most people try and survive, I'll muddle through, I'll understand. And it's like in Greece, to be honest, they voted for a Tory government at some point. And why did they move and vote for other one? Because they realised by their own experience it wasn't going to work. The real question we have to make sure is, you know all the people, you know the sad thing about getting old, right? Do you know when you watch those films and you remember the sequel, don't you? Yeah, I remember the original, yeah? Or you remember the song. Yeah, I tell my son, yeah, I remember the first song before that person re-rapped it as a rap, yeah? The truth about it is, I remember Tony Benn joining the Labour Party, right? And actually sending thousands of people in there saying he's going to change it. In fact, if you read the history books of this, in particular about this city, is people have to remember Peterloo, the rise of the Chartist. The question of why Labourism came out. The idea was to change society. And now you've got a situation where people are turning around and explaining why they can't change society. They're not even going to try. They're going to accept it. 100 years of Labourism. It's not the reason why the Labour Party do it, by the way, why they do their tax, is because they try and run the system. And the system's aimed at running it for those people above. If you try and run a system made for making people billionaires, actually it tends in terms of attacking us. Can we beat them? Can they be broken? The truth is they can, but it requires something else as well. I want to support the people for Jeremy Corbyn. I'm glad if the Tories were going to lose, but you know what we need as well? We need leadership. It's very important, the question of leadership. My family come from a place called Maypen in Jamaica, right? And in Jamaica, they had 3,000 slaves, and they had 7 overseers. And the job of the slaves was to cut down sugarcane. Therefore, they were armed, weren't they? Right? Why didn't they use the machetes on the 7 people that were whipping them? Right? That's what always the question, right? If someone's whipping you to death, you should use it on them. But the ruling ideas in our society, Marx argued, are the ideas of the ruling class. And actually, sometimes people accept them. But what I'm saying is that people are beginning to reject them. And the question of leadership is a question of the Socialist Workers' Party, why you need a Socialist Workers' Party. Because I think you have to have people that are prepared to fight and struggle and lead in any circumstances. Stand up to the Nazis, explain why they're wrong ideologically, when they say there's no alternative, but also the other question is have some kind of vision of what type of society that we've got. The truth is, somebody mentioned Hiroshima. The Hiroshima bomb compared to the Trident bomb is a baby bomb. It's a baby bomb, right? And when you look at the question of them talking about Ukraine, we might have to go to war over this. What are they talking about? They're talking not about they're talking about the destruction of how we live. When they say it's getting too hot, right, and they say Obama's wrong, we've got to start fracking, what they're talking about is the destruction of the workplace that we live. The people that run our society have got no clue about how to do it. Why is it you've got Golden Dawn Nazis taking place? Because the society they're running is producing so much pressure, is beginning to break what's taking place. And when I talk about the question of leadership, it cannot come from above. It's the people in this room and the thousands of people that are looking for some kind of idea. It's the toughest way to organise. It's much easier when you say to somebody else to do it for you. It's the question of winning our side to some sense so they can begin to change society. It's the whole question about people having some sense of confidence in them. The Socialist Workers' Party is a party of history and a party of activists. So you have to remember when you've won before. That's why I mentioned Ted Heath. Because when people say, have we ever won before? Gordon Brown says, no, I can't remember, right? We have to remember, but we also have to remember what's going on today in terms of when we storm the Tory party in the way that they organise, we also have to remember that the state is there in order to maintain organisation. The same state attacking homeless people is there to maintain it. And I think the question of making sure that we connect that with real power is absolutely the case. When I'm on an EDL demonstration and you turn up with 20 people, people turn around to me and say, Bennett in the back of the van, right? When you turn up with 20,000 or 5,000 people, they say, Mr. Bennett, how can I facilitate your demonstration? Right? The truth of it is, numbers do matter. And the type of numbers do matter. And the composition of the demonstration will matter in terms of how it's shaped. We want the power of the demonstration, but I tell you what we want. We want strikes, we want demonstrations, and we want something much more. We want it all. And I'll tell you the reason why we want it all, because when I see those people die inside Calais, the alternative is to let them die. The alternative is to destroy the world we're living in. So I'm asking everybody here who's not a member of the Socialist Workers' Party to join the Socialist Workers' Party. And the other thing that I think we have to make more other Socialist Worker Party people. Why? Because I think we are going to face a bigger struggle. I honestly do believe that. Think about this. In 1985, if you were a student in this city, you got a grant and a place in order to go to a university for free. Today, they say that's impossible. The people that run our society cannot run it in a fair way, so they have to divide and rule. And they're not going to stop. But we can beat them, provided we understand one thing. If they're a ruling class that's come through revolution, if Oliver Cromwell chopped off the head of Prince Charles I, Prince Charles is an unlucky name, by the way, if that's the case, right? Then the question of how we begin to change society has to be organised on that basis from the 4th of October, changing our society in a total way in order to kill the same system that produced racism. We have to destroy the conditions that give rise to it. And if we don't start off from a sense of being able to do that, what are we sitting in the room for? If we accept that we can't change society, then partly they've won in the sense of people accept their own slavery. It's the hardest thing to break. The hardest thing to break is when people turn around and say, be confident, you're talking shit, Cameron. I don't care if you come from Eton. I don't care if you do that. You do not know how to run this society. And when they say you don't have an idea, I think we can be doing better than you. That's the start of it. People taking power themselves. That's what stormed the Winter Palace. That's what stormed the Bastille. But the truth of it, it does require leadership on a concrete basis in order to turn that. And that's why I'm asking people to join the Socialist Workers' Party, because history cannot repeat itself. It cannot be the barbarism of fascism. It has to be the alternative of socialism. And unfortunately, we're in the generation of the 21st century where rehearsals are not enough. We have to learn from Syriza. They didn't go away even though we won the vote. Therefore, we have to go further and say, if you won't respect democracy, then we'll give you a bigger democracy in terms of taking over all of it. And we have to have a party prepared to lead that. So please join us. But more important, let's prepare for a much bigger struggle and a much more serious struggle. Thank you, Commerce, for organising this meeting. But I think we have to, I'm excited to come to Manchester, because all roads lead to Manchester, and all roads lead, I hope, for a steamroller over Cameron and a group of people that they say that they run the society. So I'll stop there.